I invite you all to come forward and express gracious wishes to Millie, and we're going to ask her to have the first piece of cake and some punch, and then y'all come enjoy. Where do I start? Wherever you want to. I do not know my computer. I'm not very good. I don't know. I forgot to get the cards.
Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you. That's your cake. Yeah. I'll go ahead and pass this out.
Hi, David. How are you? Molly.
How's it going? That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
White onion.
No more of that. Come in and get some cake.
Hello, Jerry. No, how are you?
But now you're
Well, Friday night. Come and go.
Really fast.
It'll be
Thank you so much, Molly, for sharing the music with us as we prepare for worship this morning. We're filing in slowly. We've been celebrating in the Family Life Center. This is the day we're celebrating Millie graduation, and we're going to be presenting her with a Bible and devotion book from the church today. But most of us have come over now. I want to invite you to note the announcements that are in your worship bulletin, and note that there is a new calendar for the church for the month of June inserted in the bulletin. Also, there are some birthdays that are coming up this week. Peggy Boyd here is having a birthday on Tuesday of this week, along with Kathy Brown.
Yes,
And Glenn Goggins.
we're special.
They're all special. They're all very, very, very special. Well, happy birthday to all of you. And we have some birthdays also coming up in June, and I invite you to note those celebrations as well. And there's several things I want to bring to your attention. There's a thank you note addressed to the men. The granddaughter of, let's see, this, Carl, is this your granddaughter? This is
Great-granddaughter.
great-granddaughter, Marcella's granddaughter, is headed off on a mission trip down in Australia, I understand?
Wow.
It's New Zealand. All right, I was close. I was in that vicinity. But Presley Smith sent the men a thank you note for a contribution toward her travel and for that mission trip. I understand other groups in the church have contributed as well. So we have received a thank you note there.
Pastor,
Yes.
the ladies have received one also.
And the ladies have received a thank you note as well.
And the Overcomer Sunday School class got it.
And the Overcomer Sunday School class. Several groups in the church have contributed to Presley's participation in this mission trip, and she is grateful. She's expressing her gratitude. Also, we've been working on publication of our church cookbook. And I understand from Sadie that we're a little behind the deadline for getting the recipes in. The deadline that's been set is the end of June. And I understand you need, Melba, is it 300 recipes the ladies are asking for? And do you know how many have been contributed thus far?
I'm guessing probably about 70.
About 70. So there's a long way to go. June, the end of June is the deadline. And I've just been thinking in my mind, we want the women to meet their goal and not fall short. What shall we do in order to ensure that happens? Yes, David.
In the process of moving, I ran across the last book, and it just came to mind just now. Why can't you republish some of those, the best of the best or something, and put it in the next book? Some of the people that are not
Yeah, but
even
we'd
here.
like to have something fresh for all of us that already own the other two.
Well,
We will take, especially the ones gone before us, their recipes,
yeah,
and we'll use some of those others.
good.
We'd like
Then
to
you
have
only
something
need
fresh
about,
if we get it.
then you only need about 70.
Well, really, we need 500.
Oh,
It's just maybe 300 was, I thought maybe we had 200 turned in.
Oh, you have 70 and you'd like 300 plus.
but we're working toward a 500 recipe book.
All right, so here's the need. We can publish some of those from before. That's what they said. I was thinking, now what we could do is to accept invitations from you ladies who have not turned them in yet. You can serve me and Sandy dinner, and then you can take a little time to write down the recipes, and you can submit those. And we'll be calling you, letting you know when we'll be by, all right? Warren, you think that puts the fear of something into the mind?
Yeah, pastor-tested recipes.
Pastor-tested recipes, there you go. Of course, I'm having fun, but we do want to take seriously the need to get these recipes in, and I'm going to be asking for a report each Sunday. And yes, Sadie.
Well, I'm just saying that this form seems to intimidate so many. So if you need to take a page from a tablet and write your recipe down like the form says to do,
Okay.
and turn it in.
So in other words, the people are invited to use the form as a guide, and then write down the recipe as they see fit on another sheet of paper. You're not tied to that form. Yes, and Melba.
If you do photocopy, just make a copy. We'll not do anything as long as it's legible and we can read it. Okay.
All right, just put it down on a piece of paper and you...
Just make a copy of the recipe.
Oh, you mean if it's already published? You mean the recipe that's already published?
No, in your recipe.
Recipe card.
Oh, your recipe card, okay. Okay. All right, now that might make it easier for some people. For those of you who have recipes and they're on a card, you can photocopy the card and turn that in. All right.
No more excuses.
No more excuses. No more excuses. Yes.
We're also
Sherry.
planning on $12 a book, and we are taking prepaid pre-orders, if anybody's interested in doing that.
Very good.
That's
Very
why we
good.
want to be ready.
You want to meet the deadline. Very good. Shannon, you got any recipes that you'd like to share? All right, all right, all right.
Get those together.
All right. So in future weeks, y'all come prepared. You can say, preacher, I brought mine. You can just be quiet now, all right? Okay. Yes, Sarah.
Chauncey, while we're talking about announcements, I'd like to announce that the ladies group is hosting a shower for Caitlin and Hunter Williams. That's Jennifer's son and daughter-in-law, Imelda's grandkids. They're going to have a little girl. We're going to have a shower in 2 weeks. It's June 11th. It's going to be at the Fellowship Hall from 2 to 4. So it'll be on a Sunday after church. I will get with Melba and we can send out an email with better information. But right now they're registered at Target, Walmart, and Babies R Us. And her name's going to be Blakely Ann Rose, and she's due in July.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Everyone's invited.
That's a sweet and kind thing for the ladies to do. Other announcements? All right, let's move into our presentation. Millie, would you come forward? Our graduates, I think, are going to become wary of their pastor when I come to present scholarships to them, because I called Millie, and I suspect everybody in school calls you Millie, right? And I stood there at the podium, and I said, Tinney Chapel is proud to present a scholarship to Maria Milagros Olivaria. And so then I said, better known as Millie. And she wasn't real embarrassed. You, all right. But I had never seen her name, full name, in print before, but there's a story behind it. Maria, her first name, is really given in memory of Mary, the mother of Jesus. And the name Milagros in Spanish means miracle. Giovanni was telling me that Millie was about this size when she was born, and her birth and her health have been a miracle, and we thank God for that. I think it's good to take pride in that. Praise God. Praise God. And we want to present to you this Bible. They put Millie on it. I asked them to say Maria Milagros Olivaria, but they said no, nobody knows. And there's also a little devotion book here, God's Answers for the Graduate for the class of 2017. And as I mentioned to you at the graduation and before the crowd that was assembled last Thursday, we invite you to show forth the miracle of God's love and God's power by the way you continue to live your life. Be a blessing.
Well, thank you so much.
Now, did we overlook any announcements? All right, we'll continue. Welcome to all of you. We have some guests, sort of. Marcia, it's good to see you here, the daughter of Carl Griffin. And they reminded me that this week is the second anniversary of Zani's death. And it's good for family to be together to remember her. And Marcia, I don't know if you've heard me say this, but your mom's special to me. I sense her beauty and her love in the way people talk about her. They talk about who Zani was. And she must have been a great light in this fellowship. And one Sunday, Carl, did you make the dish, the casserole dish that Zani used to make?
I tried.
All right. And it was, what was it, a potato dish? What was it? A potato casserole. We look forward, and I'm very serious about this. One of the reasons I've been pushing the cookbook so much is that when we celebrate All Saints Day later this year, that, when the world is celebrating Halloween, we remember the saints in glory, those who have died and who are in heaven. We want to, on that fourth Sunday closest to that day, make these recipes that the saints have prepared in the past. And we'll have a wonderful time remembering them. And like I'd like to tell you, I'll get to think about how delicious the food's going to be in heaven. All right? All right. So we look forward to that. Are there any others who are guests today? Allie, you're not really a guest. You're one of us. All right. Yes. Oh, yes.
It's my friend Thomas. He's a junior.
Thomas is a junior.
Thomas Millie, when she said he's a junior, she sort of looked down when she said that.
Wait, no, I'm a senior now.
All right, very good. Very good. Glad you're here with us today. All right.
Pastor, I'm sorry I'm slow this morning, but Thomas, who's now
Thomas, there
been
you
mugged.
Yes.
All right, that's a first. Thank you.
Our opening hymn today is Great is Thy Faithfulness. Where's Angela? There you are.
Hey.
Page 140.
Thank you.
That's why we come and we offer prayer and gratitude for God's goodness, and also the reason we are comfortable calling on God in times of difficulty. The church has been visiting with one who's related to our congregation recently, Jennifer Williams' son Hunter, who has been in the hospital and is still there, right, Sarah?
Yes.
He's still there. I'm so grateful for the ministry of pastoral care that the congregation provides in times like this. Before I knew that Hunter was ill, Sarah was there in the hospital with Jennifer and with the family, and Peggy Boyd was involved in the prayer ministry, and Sherry as well, and some others of you who I don't know were involved. And we continue to lift up Hunter and the family. Do you want to say a word, Sarah, about the circumstances?
They thought he had appendicitis, and luckily before they opened him up for surgery, they did one more test and found out that it was not the appendix, and they diagnosed him with Crohn's disease. You might remember maybe a year ago he's been having some stomach issues. So if in fact they confirm that's the diagnosis, it's a lifelong, something you have to manage for the rest of your life. But they would appreciate your prayers. And, just to be clear, Hunter is the father of his baby who's going to be here in a month. So they have a lot of things going on.
We lift them up in prayer. Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you, church. Melba sent out a notice, and I know several others of you have been in prayer as well. Other prayer concerns, we rejoice in Millie's graduation and yes.
Just want to say thank you all for all of that. That was beautiful. Just walking in made me really happy. And I guess the joy is graduating, because not everyone does that. Some people quit, but we all have to make it out anyway. And just everyone that's been there for me, this church family is like a really huge blessing to all of us, and they've helped us when I was sick, when I'm not sick, when everyone else is sick. I'm not like that. Anyways, just thank you all so much for everything that y'all have done. Just means a lot.
Praise God. Praise God. Thank you. Other prayer concerns as well as joys. Yes.
I'm thankful my granddaughter is okay. We had a big scare this week. Miranda called and said they were taking her by ambulance to the hospital. She had had a bike accident, and a piece of the bicycle went into her leg.
This is Cassie you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, the brake lever went into her inner thigh, and the paramedics had to figure out, it took them several minutes to figure out how to get it out of her leg. And it's just one of those freak things that would never happen ever again. And she was just riding and fell and shoved it into her leg, and that fast. Something like that can happen.
Yeah. And Cassie's walking well today, so we
Could have been a lot worse.
thank God for that.
Yeah, she's got her 7 stitches.
Yes, Shannon.
We have a joy that our granddaughter Victoria is here with us today. She and her family, our son JR and his wife Hillary, and their 2 sons, James and JoJo, along with Victoria, drove in yesterday from Georgia, and they are relocating to Winnsboro, and we're super excited.
Wonderful, wonderful. Praise God.
She'll be in 2nd grade next year.
2nd grade at Winnsboro Elementary?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Other prayer concerns and other joys. Well, let me just say a word of joy for the life of Zani that your family is memorializing this week, Brother Father Carl. It's good to have people in the church who are legends as saints of the church. And that's the category that Zani is in. People talk about her reverently. And there are some other saints here as well. Let's thank God that the light that was upon Zani is still shining. And it's shining through in many of the saints here today. I look out and I see radiance. Praise the Lord. Amen. Other joys and other prayer concerns.
Yeah,
Yes,
A friend of mine, Glenn Cox, that had his leg amputated a few months ago.
yes.
This week he got his prosthetic leg, but I'm not supposed to tell anybody, but I don't think anybody here is going to go to the Oak Extravaganza Brahmin show because he wants to surprise everybody when he walks in the room.
Praise God. Praise God that he was able to get that prosthetic leg. And thank God, Jim, for your ministry with him. He was bitten, as you may recall, by a brown recluse spider, and thought, well, I can get over this. And it progressed so far that the leg had to be removed. But Jim was there with him at the hospital and was caring for him and encouraging him through it all. And we thank God for that, and we thank God for the successful treatment after the amputation. If there are no, yes.
But Charles, well, just for now, Charles has got the stuff I have, and with his chemo he takes, it's a little unnerving for him to get sick, so he really needs to.
We want to lift up Charles in prayer, and there are several others of us who are reacting to something that is in the air. There's an allergic reaction going around. God help us. If there are no other prayer concerns or joys to offer up, let's go to God in prayer now. Lord God, we first give you thanks for the wondrous things that you are doing, the graduation of Millie that we are celebrating as a church today is just one of those things that gives us great joy. We're also thankful, Lord, for the life of the saints who have gone on that we remember today, saints like Sonny. And we, Lord, are grateful for the evidences of your love and mercy that have been shown in the kindness of these church members by visiting with families who are dealing with illness, by caring for friends and others in the community who need a hand, a support. Lord, that is a sign that you are at work among us and your power is being felt. For this we give you thanks. And Lord, for those who have been sick and who are back in church today, we give thanks. We've not called all of those names, but we have greeted some today that we were not able to greet last week. And for this we give you thanks. Lord, seeing your goodness in all these ways, we also call upon you for the things, the problems that are not yet resolved. Lord, there are issues in our lives that we are troubled about. There are things, there are illnesses, there are circumstances in our lives that we may not speak of openly here in this congregation, but they represent challenges in our lives. And Lord, these we lift up to you. We know that you are able, and we entrust you to you these secret concerns. And Lord, we will continue to call upon you in the way your Son Jesus taught us to. We will pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
May I have ushers, please?
Thank you, God, for all that you have blessed us with. May we return a portion of that to the servants. Amen.
tell me the stories of Jesus, all verses.
All the young people are invited to join me up here. Just because you graduated. Okie doke. James. Because you've got the best answers. What are we going to celebrate tomorrow? Any ideas? Ah, Nicholas, thank you. Say it louder.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. I forgot. You are going into the Navy, right? Okay, so you know about Memorial Day. Could you tell us what it is? Where we're honoring who? That's right, honoring fallen soldiers. So it's a day that we think about specifically fallen soldiers. And to be blunt, when I say fallen soldiers, I'm talking about people who passed away in active duty military service. So that definitely can make us kind of sad, but it also helps us to think about other people who are in the military. And tell me a feeling that we could feel for them. Yeah, like we want to honor them and thank them. And there's other holidays. Veterans Day is a time that we do that as well. So, as we're talking about military service, I want us to kind of think about love and the idea of serving others. So, here's a question for you. Allie, what does love look like? Does it have like a specific picture that would make you think of love? Or could it be in action? Wow. When someone does something they don't want to do for somebody else. Yeah, that's absolutely right. So that would be like helping others, even when you don't want to. Jacob, what would be another way to show love? How do we show love to our church? Going to church. You guys that just picked up the offering, would that be another way we could show love for our church?
Yes.
Is giving back to our church, either with money or our time or our talents. What about, you talked about honoring our soldiers. Sacrifice. That's another way our soldiers sacrifice to keep us safe. That's a form of love. Today, we have a very special sermon that's going to be given by, it's not just Mr. Miller, but Joe, my husband, gets on to me when I say Mr. Miller because I believe it's Colonel Miller. So, to show proper respect, Colonel Miller is going to give us a sermon for us today. And he's going to be talking about what Jesus wants for us. What is Jesus' biggest commandment to us? What's the biggest thing we need to do? That's right. We gotta love each other. Now, does the Bible say, choose 5 people and love them? Does it say, only love the people that agree with you? It, in fact, does not say that. What is it? Who are we supposed to love? Absolutely everyone. Do we love them only if it's easy? Nope. We're gonna love the people that are hard to love even more. So think about that. Love everybody. We don't limit the number of people we love. We love people who, what if they're mean to us? That's right. Love our enemies. And that's something to think about that's difficult sometimes in time of war, when our country's in turmoil. We're supposed to love people even that we don't agree with. So we love each other. And I want to challenge you to 2 things this week. Okay, I want you to think about ways that you can show your love to other people, whether through being nice. It could be something simple like opening the door for them. It could be when you had your accident and did the paramedics come? Did the ambulance come? Could be saying thank you to them. I wanted to remind everybody, you heard Pastor and Mr. Griffin talk earlier. Do you remember, some of you guys remember Ms. Zani? How many people here have a story of something special that Ms. Zani did for you that made you feel loved? Oh, I bet almost everybody in here did. Not only did she make the best cheesy potato casserole, how many people here got a little card from her, like as a surprise? Sometimes it was a birthday, or if you're feeling sick. She always was thinking of others. So let her be an inspiration to you, to love others. And the other thing is to thank a veteran. Oh, that's always important as well. And that's another way we can show love. Why don't we bow our heads in prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for sending your Son Jesus. Help us to live by his example, to love others, helping, listening, giving, and sacrifice. Remind us that there are special, chosen people among us who fight and put their lives in danger to protect us. Help us to remember those who have fallen for their country. We ask this in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's see if we have anything. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to dump out the candy right here, and you guys can come by and get out of the box from last week. You guys are welcome to come by and get candy. And on that note, we're almost needing more candy.
We are needing treats. We are needing.
Yeah. If you can get your hand in there, they can have this candy. Victoria, I've got some candy for you. Got some?
I think Miss Kathy brought some squash. We could give you
There's squash over the
With that, we invite the Lieutenant Colonel to come. Ken Miller, who is going to bring our Memorial Day message. Thank you.
I didn't get wired.
Oh, you didn't? Here, let's go ahead and take this.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Do a little sound check. Everybody hear me okay? Okay, on the way to church this morning, Melba and I, we usually communicate well. We've been married now 3.5 years. And we got into this conversation about
we're so happy. She says her life is perfect, and I said, well, my life is perfect also. And since then, I've been somewhat reminiscing about the fact that how lucky I am to be in this position. I live in a wonderful country. I live in a wonderful community. I have a good job. I belong to a really good church family, and I'm so grateful for those things. I want to thank all of you for that. I'd like to do the scripture reading. Can we turn? I'm getting feedback up here. Is that normal? There we go. Okay. I would like to read John 15, 9 through 17. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For what? For everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you, so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. That is my command: love each other.
The word of God for the people of God.
All right. Last Veterans Day, I'll give you a little quick history. I mentioned to Melba that since I'm a retired lieutenant colonel, I probably should say a few words. She mentioned it to Chauncey, and the next thing I know, Chauncey said, well, I'm just looking forward to hearing your sermon. This wasn't quite that way. I felt touched by God in a sense that Memorial Day is a special day for those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, and I volunteered for this. So if I failed, I cannot blame it on being drafted. As we have done so many times, I would like for you in the pews to pray as I pray, because as the pastor has said so many times, if there's praying in the pews, there will be preaching from the pulpit. Let us pray. Amen. For most people, the Memorial Day holiday has become simply a kickoff of the summer season of barbecues, picnics, and outdoor activity. Congress moved from its traditional calendar day of May 30th to the last day of May in 1971, so it would make a long holiday weekend. That's good for businesses and recreational enterprises, since it's easier to shut them down on the start of the week rather than midweek. Sadly, it seems that most people have forgotten the actual reason Memorial Day became a holiday. I would like to date myself a little bit, and there's probably a few in here, but as is the case with most of us, Memorial Day was referred to as Decoration Day when we were children. The gradual change started after World War II, and then in 1967 was passed into law as an official holiday, and the name change took place as to Memorial Day. The observance of Memorial Day was started in this country in remembrance to those who died in the war between the states. There's debate as to the location and date of the first observance of a Memorial Day. Some claim the custom of honoring war dead began in Boalsburg, Pennsylvania. Others claim the custom originated by some Southern women who placed flowers on the graves of both Union and Confederate soldiers after the war. One writer states that the first Memorial Day service took place on May 26, 1866 at Waterloo, New York. a burial ground for Union soldiers. I did research on the internet trying to find the first one, and I came to this conclusion. There are so many First Memorial Day theories that probably only God knows what or when the first Memorial Day was celebrated. People throughout history have observed special days for all sorts of occasions. There are also particular sites of remembrance, such as cemeteries, battlefields, and museums. There are particular objects to cause remembrance, such as monuments and historical signs, and there are songs, ballads, books, and poetry about things that should be remembered. We must teach the next generation the meaning of Memorial Day. They need to learn our history and the sacrifices that have been made for the freedoms they enjoy, and all too often taken for granted. The reality is that every citizen of the United States shares in the same heritage. Since 1775, there have been over 665,000 who have died in battle, along with another 675,000 who died from other causes while in military service, and then on top of that, another 1.5 million that have been wounded, paying a high price in getting and preserving our freedoms, as well as protecting and liberating those in our nations, or in other nations. I contend that failure to remember and honor the sacrifices by those who have gone before us will lead to a failure to preserve the very things for which these patriots have died. Freedom is not free. Again, I'll say that. Freedom is not free. Those who recognize its cost will continue to pay its price so that it is preserved. Those who do not recognize it will or could lose it. There are multiple reasons to set aside a day to remember for those who have died. I have already pointed out some of these. There's national reason to remember and the high cost of maintaining our political freedoms. This both honors those who have made their ultimate sacrifice and helps encourage people in the present to be diligent to maintain their freedoms. That in itself is enough reason to have a National Memorial Day, and even more so that to those that did willingly join in the fight for such grand reasons. They yielded their lives to establish and protect political concepts that would benefit others. We must also acknowledge that many that have died in our nation's wars were pressed into military service through a draft. There have been various drafts over the course of our national history that has required men to serve the military and the nation. They were not being motivated by high ideals. Should such men also be honored? By all means, yes. These men were someone's relatives, husbands, fathers, uncles, brothers, nephews, should be remembered by the family. A couple of years ago, Melba and I went to her family graveyard in southern Illinois, and I saw the gravestone of her Uncle Billy Lamb. And this is in the case of her Uncle Billy Lamb, who was drafted for the Korean War. The citation on his silver star reads, PFC William Lamb was killed in action on the 4th of July, 1951, near Chincheon, North Korea. He gave his life while providing final protective fire as his unit withdrew under heavy machine gun fire. He was posthumously awarded the Silver Star for his leadership and valor that day. And while patriotism is a hallmark of Memorial Day, there is another side to this that should be acknowledged as something of high nobility. Many of those have died on foreign soil seeking to provide or protect the freedoms for foreign people. In some cases, the enemies we were fighting have not been a direct, immediate threat to our nation, but rather ideological and or a long-term threat. There have been strong political views about wisdom of such wars. However, regardless of political views, those who have sacrificed themselves for the benefit of foreign people in foreign lands should be remembered and commended. As I pointed out earlier, over half of military deaths have been from something other than direct battle action. Things such as training accidents, equipment failure, weather conditions, disease, inadequate medical care have been as deadly as the enemy. Those who have died from such things should be remembered and honored as much as those who have died from a bullet or shrapnel. The dangers in the rear lines may be statistically much less than those on the front lines, but death and injury are still part of the risk that has claimed multitudes of victims, along with those who have served on the front lines. As Christians, we have many memorials also. Throughout the Scriptures, we are reminded that setting aside days or objects for remembrance are nothing new. This is as true for nations now as it was true for the ancient nations. There are many of them in the Scripture for a variety of particular purposes. For example, we'll do a couple of easy ones. There's Christmas, birth of Christ. Crucifixion, the resurrection. Good Friday, Easter, those are memorials. Besides these, there are many others that are recognized in memories, and I could go on forever, but I picked out three that touch me directly. God established the rainbow as a sign of his covenant with Noah that he would not flood the earth again to destroy all flesh. It was a reminder of both God's judgment in the past and his promise for the future. In Exodus, the Lord brings about his last plague upon Egypt, which resulted in Pharaoh finally releasing the children of Israel from their enslavement. The firstborn would be killed unless the blood of a lamb was spread on the doorpost and lintel, in which case the angel of death would pass over that house. The Lord then established the Feast of Passover as a yearly reminder of this event and the freedom that resulted from it. In the book of Joshua, it records the miraculous crossing of the Jordan River. On dry ground, God directed the Levites to carry the Ark of the Covenant into the river, and as their feet touched the water stopped flowing and the riverbed became dry. A man from each tribe then collected a large stone from the middle of the riverbed, and they were stacked on the opposite side of the Jordan as a memorial. The purpose was specifically so that when future generations of children would ask about the cracked stones, the story of the crossing would be told. Memorials were not just prompted by particular days or sites, but also what was written. In the New Testament, we find that a certain ceremony of worship is done here monthly, communion. Paul explains its history and its meaning by citing Jesus' very words. Jesus said, "Both the bread, which represents my body, and the cup, which represents my blood, are to be partaken in remembrance of me." Now in battle, a general truth about those on the front lines is, regardless of grand ideologies, concepts of freedom, or even threat to home, when the shooting starts, the general reason for shooting back is self-preservation and trying to protect your buddies. Jesus himself commanded this type of sacrifice. The stories of those who have died in demonstrating this kind of love abound. One such is a childhood friend who I went from the first grade through graduation. His name was Daniel Fernandez, Specialist for the United States Army. He was a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient posthumously in Vietnam. His citation reads that his patrol was ambushed by a Viet Cong rifle company. Specialist Fernandez and 3 other volunteers immediately fought their way through devastating fire and exploding grenades to reach a falling soldier. While first aid was being administered to the wounded man, a sudden increase in the accuracy and intensity of enemy fire forced the volunteer group to take cover. As they did, an enemy grenade landed in the midst of the group. Although some of the men did not see it, realizing there was no time for the wounded or the other men to protect themselves from the grenade blast, Specialist Fernandez vaulted and threw himself on the grenade as it exploded, saving the lives of his 4 comrades at the sacrifice of his own. There are those service people who volunteer for dangerous assignments, to take up the most dangerous position to give the rest of the unit a greater chance, as in the case of Melba's Uncle Billy. There are those who have shielded others with their bodies as bullets flew and bombs went off, as in the case of my friend Daniel Fernandez. There are those who charge an enemy position to try to protect their friends by eliminating the enemy or drawing fire away from their buddies. And there are those who have demonstrated a greater concern for others than their own life. These are what I call heroes. Truly, these are heroes. There are probably some veterans here today because someone else got hit instead of men. It is for this very reason that causes the vast majority of those who have done some heroic deed and survived to tell about it, downplay it as just doing their duty. What is more precious on earth to any sane man than human life? There is no material gain or position of power that anyone would get trade for it, since wealth and power are worthless to those who are dead. The value of human life is so high that the value of other things can only be compared to it. What is the response of someone who has had someone else lay down their life for them? Extreme gratitude. That is why Memorial Day has always been such an important holiday among veterans, and especially those who have served, as compared to the rest of the general population. Many veterans personally know the price someone else has paid, allowing them to live. As a country, we remember and are grateful for the precious freedoms we have enjoyed over the course of our country's history, because so many risked it all and paid the ultimate price to procure our freedoms. As a society, we remember and are grateful for the lives we have been able to live because of those who placed their lives in jeopardy and for those who lost their lives to secure that safety for us. As a nation, we remember and are grateful for the harmony we can have with other nations because of the many who have been placed in harm's way. As individuals, we remember and honor family members, friends, loved ones, and buddies of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. As great a love as it is for a man to lay down his life for his friends, there is one, and that would be Jesus, that has demonstrated an even greater love. Now, in the end of the scripture reading, from John 15:14, he's telling his disciples he no longer calls them servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I've called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father I have made known to you, and so forth. I won't read it again, but he leaves it. This is my command, love each other. This statement in itself is wondrous, since Jesus, the Son of God, is saying this to his disciples, who were mere humans. Jesus came to earth and became friends with humans and promised to reveal God the Father to them. Perhaps we can understand Jesus dying on behalf of his disciples, since they were his friends, for that would parallel what has been seen in the lives of men who have died in trying to protect their family and friends. However, Jesus' love went beyond that. He died for all of us. Can there be a love greater than a man laying down his life for his friends, or someone dying in the place of a good man? Yes, but no mere human could do it. It would take God in the human flesh to do it. Paul states in Romans, "You see, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good reason someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love towards us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us." There may be the rare individual who might dare die for a righteous or good man if he could be found, but who would die for sinners? Or let me ask the same question in this manner. What is the treatment that is usually given to an avowed enemy? Perhaps in the general bond that can exist between all soldiers because of common hardships, there can be some general respect and kindness toward a captured soldier. But what about towards an enemy soldier that is still fighting? A good soldier, out of love for his buddies, might put his life on the line for their benefit, but would he do so for the benefit of the enemy? Yet, that is what Jesus did. His death was not just on behalf of his friends. He willingly made himself the sacrifice needed to redeem, cleanse, and reconcile sinners with God. In Luke 23:34, Jesus said, as we all heard so many times, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Today and tomorrow, we give special recognition to those who have died for the cause of freedom. What they have done is noble, and should be remembered and honored. and we who have received the benefits of their sacrifice should be thankful. However, we also call on all people everywhere to remember, honor, and give respect to our Lord above all, for he demonstrated the greatest love for all men. He extends the greatest benefit to all who will believe in him. The Apostle John stated, "These things I have written unto you who believe in the name of the Son of God, in order that you may know that you have eternal life." I would like to close today with a story that came out of the Civil War, in which a couple of young soldiers were overheard praying that if there were those in their company that must die in the coming battle, that it would be them, for they know the Lord and they were prepared for eternity. And that God be merciful to spare their comrades in arms, and that they might yet believe, repent, and be saved. Such is the heart of a true Christian. May each of you live with a similar mindset, and may God be merciful to those who have not yet believed to be redeemed for their sins.
Amen. 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 As Ken has so well said, we give thanks to God for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of this nation that we love. But we also thank God that he sent his son Jesus Christ to die for our sins in order that we might be saved. And as we prepare to sing our concluding hymn, we invite you to note the invitation that is printed in the worship bulletin. We invite any who are not a member of this church or any church to come and unite with this congregation in order that we together might follow the example of Christ and offer ourselves in Christian service.
We need the cross of Jesus first and second.
Shine upon you and give you peace. Let the church say amen. Amen.